Okay, so we're gonna wing it just a little bit here. My other two people that kind of helped me run this aren't here today, and a lot of the information that we normally cover in the start is actually covered in the slides. So kind of bear with that just a little bit. This may seem scattered, but I promise it all makes sense in the end. So, hi, I'm Bill. One of the things that I help do is run the SQL Server group here. We also run the SQL Saturday, and we're gonna have that, I believe August 24th is the Saturday that we're aiming for. So it'll be there. That's 8 hours of free training. There's multiple other events such as March 24th as well, I believe. There's one in Colorado Springs if you fancy a 12-hour drive. But there's ones around, so kind of it's worth it to go if you actually want to see a lot of these things. It's 8 hours of free training, just kind of provide your way there. So I want to go ahead and thank Starspace for allowing us to have this room, and Techlahoma in general for helping sponsor a lot of these user groups. They will be mentioned here as one of the training resources for multiple good reasons. And Addison, who is not here at the moment to give their initial front spiel, but they do have a card available and food, so if there's anything you want to grab, go ahead and grab it now. So, who here is new? And by new, I mean in less than 4 years. Yeah, 4 years covers quite a bit of people in a data environment. It's kind of unfair, but let's try that. So one of the big questions you run into is how do you get started into a new industry? How do you cut over from something you're already doing? You will notice this is kind of heavy DBA focused, but that's a product of the environment. I was a DBA. Where do you think most DBAs come from? Like, where do you think the normal DBA starts? Anyone here is actually a DBA that just started as a DBA? Who all here is actually a DBA? Okay. So, and were you what started you on that path? Programming? Okay. Same, programming? Okay. Many hats, yes. So, who here is actually a developer as full-time? And as a developer, did you start off wanting to be a developer and get into that field? So that one's a little bit easier to become a developer. You can kind of go to school to be a developer. There's courses to be a developer. There's classes. There's a high need for a high number of developers. And it kind of gives you a little bit more fluid movement to figure out kind of where you want to be. But still, you have to know where to start. So this is going to cover kind of more how to get into SQL Server specifically. And a lot of this will translate over to MySQL, Postgres. Oracle's a little harder because a lot of their training tends to kind of be some open form, but a lot of locked form. So you will see that, but you can still find. Yeah, it's paywalled, definitely paywalled. Even to take their certifications, you have to do it through them, and there's more to it. But Oracle's still one of those ones you can find information on. So let's get started. So there's a lot of excuses we have for why we don't do training. Some of our initial ones are, training's expensive. Who has a couple $1,000s to go to Summit? Yeah, I don't either. So one of the issues is your boss isn't always going to pay for your training, especially if it's out of field. If you do anything other than what you're doing and what you're wanting to go to training for, they may not pay you for it because they don't want to try to lose you. At the same time, they are also kind of expecting you already know it, so why are they training you? It's a catch-22. So training's hard. You can find a good employer. Some of us have gotten lucky. I will admit I have found a lot of luck over the years on that. But time to learn. How do you find the time? I can't actually help you with time, no one can. But if you consider the idea of everything being on fire, we're past the holiday season. Everything that they stopped their hiatus and decided not to break, they're breaking now, right? If not with intent, with intent. You don't have a lot of personal money for training. It kind of falls under the first one here. It's impossible to stay awake while reading. Okay, anyone ever read a tech manual and go, oh my God, how is this plot gonna develop? It doesn't, it never does. Has anyone found one they enjoyed reading, like as a book? There's a DevOps book. I'm actually really curious about that. There's Head First? No.
They really take it as a conversation.
That could be interesting. That could be useful. I'm kind of curious about that. I'm going to have to actually question you about that later. So you said Head First, right? Awesome. There's I'm trying to think of the book. There's a book series that's written from the SQL side as a list of people saying, here's something that I know that I'm going to show you, but they only wrote a single chapter. So each one you get to see a different personality every time you get to that new chapter. It doesn't mean that you're going to go, oh my God, I hate chapter 22, but 23 is amazing. But it gives you something more to read than, and at the start of the database, you'll see right here, you're going to go to an alter table statement, and you'll put in, it gets old. Let's see, I'm happy where I am, why move up? Is anyone happy where they are? They don't want a new job, there's nothing that they're wanting to look forward to, they're exactly happy, they want to stay here till you retire. There's a few, but there's always that one thing that you see on the internet and you're like, you can make how much doing what, and it kind of sticks to you, and you can't help it. I've gotten really lucky, and I've gotten exactly where I wanted to be, and it's taken 15 years in IT, and I'm actually a consultant without the worry of being a consultant. If my client goes away, I don't get fired because I have other jobs. It's nice. So, no on-the-job training. Who here has a wiki where they work? Who has an up-to-date wiki? So, who has training material in your office that is up to date and provided for you? Or anyone else that you're not trying to write? So another excuse, and this is my favorite. I actually looked this number up, and it was true still. Well, it would be. There's over 23 million cat videos, and this is YouTube specifically. So if you have a weekend or a few, I guess, you can kind of just work your way through I Can't Has Cheeseburger, see all the pictures. You can go down the cat videos, and you can learn the difference between a Burmese and I don't know cats. But cat videos, it's a thing. So when you're looking for resources, one of the things you're looking for is what type of resources. Ones that don't take a lot of your time, something you can do passively, something that doesn't really impact you. How many of you know a number of these sites up here? So some of the simple ones you're going to see is going to be like Brent Ozar, especially on the SQL side for DBAs. You're going to see him a lot. He has a good personality and a group of people. It makes it easy, and they blog a lot. You're going to see like Scary DBA, SQL Skills, Thomas LaRock. These are still active bloggers. You'll see them on Twitter. You'll see them all over the place up here too. As a shameless plug, I put my company's blog at the bottom. I don't know if that was subtle. I guess this makes it not subtle, and that's okay. Midnight DBA, or Midnight SQL, they're Sean and Jim McCowan. They're actually out of Dallas. I don't know if you all have seen them. They've come up occasionally to actually come and visit us. They're honorary members from Dallas. For them. So, webcasts, videos. Like I said, sometimes text is hard. The day is long. You don't want to read anymore. But watching a video is not too bad. So the Midnight DBAs, they have a show. I don't know how active they are on still posting, but they've got a lot of older stuff and a lot of training videos. If you catch their midnight show for the Midnight DBAs, make sure your kids aren't around. MA17's a threat, not a warning. So Pragmatic Works gives away free training. Brent Ozar as well has free and paid videos. And there's other places you can find webcasts and other videos online. Okay, so Kendra Little and SQL Workbooks. And Kendra Little is a fantastic author in person, just in general. So she's worth looking up. So for those that are listening out there, that's Kendra Little. She does a lot with indexing, which I really like to follow. And she does some things with databases that I don't still understand. It's kind of like trying to figure out quantum physics in second grade. I don't quite get it. So you're aware also, as you notice, there's a bunch of hyperlinks. There's not a lot of actual good detail up there. There wasn't a lot of talking points. This will be available and posted, so anyone who wants to download this can, and all these links will be available for everyone. So there's other video archives too. SQL Bits, has anyone actually heard of SQL Bits? Okay, so SQL Bits is kind of like the sister type thing to Pass. I don't know if they're actually technically related, but they're as big, but they're in the European region. And they have a pretty good video archive of their previous years. Pass themselves, they do as well. You can either pay for them to get the newest years, or you can look at the older archives because who here is running 2017 in production? So the older archives actually fits a number of places. There's not a lot you're going to lose there. Apologize. So Techlahoma, TechNet. We're going to get to Techlahoma. TechNet.Microsoft also has a video archive. That video archive was technically a ton of videos that were built for the MCM, the master's version of the SQL Server certificate that they kind of killed, 5 years ago now. But the videos are still there, and they're very high-level videos. So it's good high-level training over high-level topics you might not know in-depth details about. There's SQL in the City. Redgate sponsors that. They kind of run around and do presentations, invite people out. It's another one of those free training things. They kind of try to keep one around the summit if you ever head up to Seattle, specifically where they do the summit. It's one of those ones that you can grab a couple days before. SQL Century, usergroup.tv, SQL Server Central themselves have videos. Who here knows SQL Server Central? Who's been on SQL Server Central in the last week? So SQL Server Central, and you'll see them up here a lot, and I want to point them out. They're a forum that has videos and stairways, which I'll get into, and just training archives, daily blog posts, reposts, and an active community. So if you have a question, preferably not when the server's on fire, but if you're going to make a big change over the weekend and you're wondering, how bad is this going to screw up my Sunday? You can post kind of what you're going to do, what you're planning on doing, how you think it's going to work, and see if anyone wants to comment on whether or not you're getting ready to set the world on fire and you need to step away. They will. They'll help. They won't do your homework for you, but they are a good community that will come and actually answer some questions. Has anyone actually asked a question to get answered and had a good answer? I got at least one. The rest of you, if you go ask the questions, that'll change. They also have a quiz that they do daily. If you want to earn points, I don't know what internet points are worth, but you go for it. It's kind of fun. So, forums. So SQL Server Central, I pointed out DBA Stack Exchange and Stack Exchange as different things. So I know I poked heavier towards the DBA side. I do want to say all of these sites do cater to developers and BI, general analytics, anything else that you want to go down those different areas, they have stuff there. And that includes Stack Exchange, which has everything. And you can actually download Stack Exchange's database to play with. Just, that one step further of being meta and searching your own database for the question. But there are lots of good forums, and there's a good active community out there. So, who's seen a stairway? Okay, we have two. There's more people that should check out stairways. So a stairway is a person who has given up their time at no cost to write a 4 to 8, roughly, I guess, page lesson. How do I write T-SQL? Step 1, open your new query window. Step 2, type select. Step 3, never follow that with star and leave it in production. That's a complaint, ignore that. But it gives basic information about how you accomplish your task, gives you syntax, gives you something to follow along, and explains what they're doing. And they do that for everything, almost everything. Let's a little abstract there. They do it for lots of things. There's lots of stairways out there and lots of good information. So if you want to know a new way to get into something, or say you want to become a DBA and you want to understand backups, they will explain not only how to do a backup, the reason you want to do a backup, what the cadence of a backup might look like, and how to actually perform that task, and then how to set it up to be automated. So it takes you from, I hear backups are good, to I'm going to lose my job if I don't finish this backup right now, because I've never had one in 3 years. That's never happened to anyone here. No. So as I'm looking at this, let's go ahead and just mark that top one there. That's like 2 years old. That SQL Saturday is passed. There will be a new link that will eventually show up sooner or later once we actually get the event finalized. But just in general, the events that exist. Who's been to a SQL Saturday? Who had fun and didn't want to leave the SQL Saturday? We lost a hand. Okay. A SQL Saturday is between 5 and 6 presentations at I guess sequentially. There's normally between like 3 and like 12 presentations wide by like 5 or 6 deep. You have the ability to go to about 5 or 6 presentations. And they cover the gambit of everything from BI to DBA to development, and it's free, 100% free. You don't pay a penny for anything unless you want to eat. If you want to eat with us, you have to pay like $10 or $12 depending on the event, but you can bring your own lunch, dietary restrictions, things like that. So it's 100% free. They have them in Dallas, Houston, Kansas City. Little Rock had one. I think theirs kind of died off. That might be worth looking into. Baton Rouge is way bigger than Oklahoma. They're like 800 people. We're around 200 people. But that doesn't mean we have 200 people from all the surrounding states that drive to Oklahoma to learn about SQL. There's some messed up people out there. We had one person that came in from Washington State. I don't know how they got there. I think they missed. But we have people that show up. And these events, they also have, I need someone's help here. There's an event that I've seen in Tulsa. Tulsa Tech Fest, thank you. They cover, I think they're a little bit dev heavy compared to DBA, but if you're a developer, that's perfect. And they tend to have a good selection of different presentations and sessions. And if I remember right, it's been a couple of years, but a lot of the vendors are kind of held off to the side so that you don't have to walk through a gauntlet of people if you don't want to. A SQL Saturday here is completely different. The gauntlet exists. It's right along the edges. You can walk to the outside and avoid them, but they're all there. Yes, just around the staircase. Once you go to the central staircase, there's like 12 booths, and they've not seen anyone for an hour. So, help. We are a PASS local chapter. So we are on the website. We are a PASS local chapter. We don't receive a sponsorship from them because we don't. We also cover a lot of topics that aren't specifically SQL related as far as Microsoft SQL. So we don't really fit under a PASS only chapter. So that's kind of one of the things you'll see here. If a lot of you come around more often, you'll see presentations on Postgres and MySQL. And we had a Neo4j presentation not too long ago, and I still don't understand graph databases, but they're now in SQL Server. But they exist. But we also have virtual chapters. For those of us who don't want to walk outside in 14-degree weather, I'm kind of talking to anyone out there watching on Twitch. The rest of us made it. I know it's cold, but come on. But the virtual chapters, you can go and sign up. A lot of them are recorded. You can go to specific events, and they give away prizes. We don't give away prizes. I'm broke. They give away like $50, $100 Amazon gift cards just to show up and watch someone else talk. So it's worth going. SQL PASS itself has an event. It's called the Summit. If you do the pre-cons, it's 5 days of sitting around doing this for like 10 hours a day. So if you want a whole bunch of knowledge, a whole bunch of presentations, you'll find some of the best speakers there covering lots and lots of topics across like 3 buildings. And they have fun after parties and events. It can be a lot of fun, and it's also a lot of information. Plus, you get access to the online version of the presentations you missed. So if you can talk your boss into it, it's, I think, $5,000 or so. You can get it for like $2,300 if you sign up early enough in the year. My numbers are off. I'm kind of estimating / guessing. We also have SQL Bits, which again requires you to fly to London. So I advise it. It's February 23rd, whoever can make it out there. I want to come with. So am I going too fast on any of this? Is this somewhat making sense? Now this is just a lot of information of what exists data-wise. I have content, I swear. So there's a lot of structured training out there. And I know I've talked to at least a couple people who have mentioned Udemy. There's also Lynda, which is another form of online training. And Microsoft themselves have training environments with servers that you can run tests on and tear apart. If you want to know how to build an always online cluster, break their stuff. I haven't seen a cost associated to any of it yet. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I haven't found it. So far, I think it's free. Maybe I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop, but I'm pretty sure it's free. So, social media. Who here likes Twitter? It's like the same two hands. These are like the only outgoing people we have here. So, Twitter, we have a Twitter. I don't honestly know how to use it because I'm not the one who does that. But I'm still going to talk about it. There's SQL Help. You can ask your question on Twitter and go, oh my God, my server's on fire. Wait a few seconds and do that 1 out of 2, 2 out of 2, and actually say your problem because you only have, 280 characters now? Or is that only for special people? I don't know. They've increased the amount of characters and they allow you to type things. SQL Help will answer questions and they are responsive and they are truly trying to help you. It's a community. There's SQL Family. That's honestly where we reach in sometimes to pull out speakers. Hey, anyone in the Oklahoma City area want to speak? Anyone want to do a remote session? They will respond like, I'm bored, I'll come do it. And you can find people. They want to help. It's really a good community. I'm going to say this a few more times. It's okay. We can love. We can get better. There's also Techlahoma's Slack. Who here's on Techlahoma's Slack? Way more hands. It is a great place to be. We have the OKC SQL channel, but there's a databases channel that covers way more than just what we do. And they answer questions. They do help. You'll see a whole bunch of questions, even if you go back to the archive. People do try to help. There's also the SQL Community Slack. That actually has the SQL Saturday channels, the events channel for that. Like if you have questions about SQL Server in Azure, there were 430 people on this afternoon in the Azure channel. And they're answering questions. They're useful. These are useful places to go to talk. And as you learn more, you'll find that you can contribute something that you didn't know you knew that someone else hasn't responded to or just doesn't know. Also, whenever they release a patch that sets all your servers on fire, every one of these forums will light up. So it's a great place to know that you're not crazy when 300 other posts are like, why did patch KB 479.32592 break my server? The middle part's fake, but that 9.2 thing I've already had to remove yesterday. There's a nice update that actually breaks your ability to, what was it that it broke? It broke Wi-Fi. It kept you in permanent airplane mode if you had the ability to toggle airplane mode. So if you didn't, it didn't break it, but if you could turn off airplane mode by a keystroke, it broke it. Anyways, they do interesting things. These people find it, because normally they install it first and then they break and then they tell everyone they broke. I'm gonna slow down for this one. Who here's been on a cruise? One person. I'm not in this group. I want to be. There is a SQL cruise. There is a cruise ship that has regular cruise people doing regular cruise things and regular like 40-pound tubs of bacon hanging out like a cruise ship does, full of nightlife and party, that has a while we're at water, not near a port to have fun, 9 to 5, let me teach you about SQL, and then unleash you on whatever weird casino that floats, exists. And the prices aren't bad. The training, $1,600, cheaper than the summit. The room, last time I priced it, was $900, cheaper than a hotel for 7 days. And then you just have to fly there. You might be able to talk your boss into this because you are trapped on a boat with no internet that forces you to be in a room and learn from people way smarter than I ever thought I could be. I'm not there, but they exist. They come out of the Mediterranean, so that's a longer flight. They have the Bahamas route, and they have the Alaskan route. I think the Bahamas route hasn't shown up in the last couple of years, but Alaskan route is in August. Who here wants to take a cruise? I like hands. One of these days I'm asking a question that's going to require a response. It's a threat. So that's a bunch of links. We all like a bunch of links, right? No one likes a bunch of links. You'll get the links later. That way you don't have to remember any of that. Let's talk about formal education. So has anyone seen a degree path that is actually for like database or development that is a college degree? Not like computer science that teaches some about it, but a degree for how to be a good developer, how to be a good DBA, or how to be a good anything other than project manager. I haven't seen that course. There's a lot of good schools out there that have a lot of good courses, but not really a degree. Tulsa does have a cybersecurity program. They have a master's in cybersecurity that's available. OSU has a bachelor's for that same program, and Rose State's actually one of the few things they're authorized for can actually give a bachelor's in cybersecurity as well, hosted through OSU, as accredited through OSU. That exists. WGU and a number of other schools do some cybersecurity, but as a development in DBA, I haven't seen those. They have courses for it, but how does that affect you as an employer? How many times have you looked at a job that requires a suit and tie and wonder, do you need a degree for that? That happens, right? You see it like a Devin, I believe, is one of them, if I'm not mistaken, that they do like to have a degree. The bigger the corporation, the more employees, the more a degree kind of shows a little bit more commitment, and I can understand it. But in Oklahoma especially, or as far as I've talked to recruiters, the further you are away from a place that has an ocean, full of happiness and joy and waves, the less the degree truly matters. You'll see a lot more certificates that take that same place, mostly due to supply and demand. The number of us that are IT in the middle of Oklahoma compared to Silicon Valley. It kind of makes sense, right? Has anyone had a different experience with that? Because I'm really hoping to change this slide. So the way I've always thought of it is a certificate can help get your foot in the door to show that you're willing to go that extra mile to learn something. Your performance and what you do on job helps you keep that job and progress within that job and turn it into a career. And if you go for formal education, that can help you kind of retire out of that career into either a senior or management role if you wanted to go that route. If you already have a degree, that takes the place of the certification. If you're starting today and trying to get into this environment, trying to spend 4 years in school before you get there might not be your best path. Yes? Nothing holds true for the government. I completely agree. Nothing holds true for the government. For the government, I worked for the DoD and the Air Force for a while, and having that degree can make the difference of whether or not your resume gets put to that top because of a point scaling system very quickly. So if you want to go the civil route, which is actually still a good route to go because it's good, the pay is good, especially for the area. Short of sequestration, you're pretty well safe from anything. You probably want to look towards a degree. So kind of map out what you want to do. If you're in data science specifically, you need a degree. Probably in a math that I can't name. It's probably accurate. But for DBA and development, you can work through a lot of this without it. Certifications. Does anyone actually hang their certs on the wall? I did when I first got them. I will fully admit that. 5 years later, I don't. Only me, got it. So I have a decently long list of certifications. Some due to the fact that they age out, no one cares about my SQL 2008 certificate, MCITP. It doesn't even actually exist as an acronym right now anymore, so we'll just let that go. There's lots of certifications you can get that look good on a resume. I'm not saying don't put them there, but if your list kind of exceeds next page limit, you might see which ones are most relevant to the job, not just put a list for the sake of putting a list. That's more of a resume thing that doesn't really play in here. But certifications. Well, let's talk about this. So, are they expensive? A SQL certification, the voucher is $150 if you pay it outright for a Microsoft test. You can find them down to about $100 by looking for early expiring vouchers. So let's say you're ready to take your test. You go out and look out for one that's going to expire in 3 weeks, buy it, and then take your test for $50 less. The pre-tests are cheaper as well? Are they for early expire? So you mean like whenever they're going to release like the 2016 or 2017 certification, the test tends to be cheaper? So that's actually a good point. When they come out with a new product, or sometimes when they revamp their entire test system, they will have like a pre-release test that you can kind of, if you can catch wind of, you can kind of apply for. CompTIA did it with the CASM when the CASM certification came out. I think that's the right one. When they came out with that certification, it had a cheaper price for a short time for you to take it to kind of see what it is and how it works and who's going to pass, what questions do people answer normally, that type of thing, because they're trying to gauge what's happening. And they have a lot of weighted questions in there that are either weighted because they know that they're right and they want it to weigh more on your test, or they have some that just have no bearing on your test at all. They're just kind of curious how you answer. So that nervous feeling that there's no right answer to a question, sometimes there's not. That's actually a thing. Not to freak you out, it's just true. So certs is actually how I got my first job. Well, with SQL. My real first job happened at a railroad stop where I got a random phone call from a person who I filled out for on Monster, who's like, hey, do you want a job? Like, yes. Great, you're hired. Where am I working? Oh, that's important information for you, isn't it? Yes. You'll be working for Tinker Air Force Base. Awesome, I'm interested. What will I be doing? Oh, it's IT related. Okay, I'm in. Final question. Well, I guess, where do I meet you? Oh, Tuesday, meet me here at 8 a.m. Okay. How much do I get paid? This. I'm in. I was throwing freight, so any number would have been accepted, I promise. But other than that, SQL Server, I paid for the certifications, I got them, and I applied for every job that had anything but senior in the title. Even if it's like, I need 8 years of experience. You have one resume. Do you want to chance it? It happens. Sometimes people will see 3 resumes in front of them, none of them are good, and they go, let's take the least worst one. I am willing to be that person at times. So just applying is better than not. Even going through an interview for a company you know won't hire you, it at least lets you know a little bit more about the other company that might and what they might ask. So, after 18 questions of why this table is not performing correctly, you didn't answer the one thing that was actually wrong that we found out yesterday. I don't work here. I didn't see all the logs. It's a vague question. That's not fair. Anyways, complaints. Bitter? Yeah, a little. So making that initiative, showing that you're willing to get certification, showing that you're coming to this user group right here, this lovely group of people right here, you can put on your resume because you're part of the community. You gave up your wonderful Monday night. I can't say that with a straight face. You came out here on a Monday, well, it's 12 degrees outside. There, that's something. But you came out. You did something extracurricular for no reason as an adult. Mostly as an adult. Some of us. They're not expensive as a certificate. You can get into them for about $100, $150, $125 if you buy the book. A lot of them will have the vouchers inside. I know I'm mentioning vouchers like 8 times. They're free considering that you pay less than what you would have paid anyways. They're money. This is free money if you actually take the test. You can also do what's called a double shot voucher. So if you're pretty sure you're going to fail, pay a little extra, like 25% more, and you get a second chance. And it gives you a chance to kind of acclimate yourself to the type of test it's going to be. And that is worth it to a lot of people because a lot of people learn better based on what they see out of a test. I'm not saying go cheat on the test. That is not what I'm saying. So, has anyone actively looking now? Remember, you're not on camera. Just raise your hand slightly. So, how many times have you seen a job posting saying, SQL Server 2017, we need 3 years of experience? Okay. All the time. We need someone who's proficient in Oracle, DB2, Postgres, SQL Server, and knows R with a little bit of Python. I know like 2 of those, so let's just cut a lot of that out real quick. So that is a lie. I don't think I wrote it here. It's a bold-faced lie. No one ever actually puts their requirements as actual requirements. It's normally like the first 2 or 3 things that are a really want to have, and the rest are, would be kind of nice, I hope they apply. And then the final one is, we really can't afford that person, so we're going to accept someone in the middle. Apply anyways. Speaking here, doing this, making a fool of yourself on Twitch, that is actually considered experience. This is me standing in front of a public forum, talking to you all, trying to show you something new with nothing to benefit other than people might know my name and I get a job. Anyways, there's lots of ways to kind of get out there. I do this a lot. The talking quietly thing, ignore the rest. Junior DBAs and dev jobs, look for them if you're actually looking. Even if you're a mid-level DBA, look for the junior job. They might want a mid-level person and have a restricted budget, and their restricted budget is still kind of nice if you're looking. So a junior DBA or dev job will want normally 1 to 2 years of experience and touch 2 or 3 of the topics I mentioned earlier, but they really most of the time don't need that. They need someone that they like. A personality is important. Someone that they think they can trust. First impressions matter. And someone they think is willing to learn. Showing that you're here, showing that you're trying to come out as a speaker shows that you're a personable person. Showing that you're trying to be part of a community shows that you're willing to work together in a team. All these things help. So get a helping hand or foot. If you know someone and you're in this community, like you can turn to the person next to you and say, hey, is your company hiring? There's no one there, I know. But people do look for people. I found that we have 4 or 5 jobs at my company. There's lots, my old company is looking for 2 people. There's lots of places you can go. The recruiters know all the people looking for jobs, what you might qualify for, and the more they like you, the more likely they're going to push you specifically, and whether that's bad or not, it's true. So being that person people knows, being the person that they know that they can trust and being useful and being helpful and being a good person can help other people help you find a job if you need it. It is a useful thing. I'm not saying go make all the friends you can to try to get people to get you jobs. I'm saying that just in general, the larger number of people you know will help. So recruiters, I'm really glad he's not here. Recruiters can be good. They can be bad. There's a fair number of them that are, is evil the wrong word? I don't think so. I think evil is actually a decent word. I think some of them really do have bad intent. And I think there's a lot of good ones. We try to partner with a good company, Addison. We think they do good work. GDH we've partnered with in the past. We think they do good work. They're good people. So recruiters do get paid based on what they can get you for salary or on a predetermined number for finding a seat. But they also only get paid if you stay. You might not know that, but they're not just able to make a quick buck. If you leave within 6 months to a year on a lot of contracts, they don't get paid. So they do try to find you a job that you're willing to deal with, that you're willing to stick with, that you're willing to work in. It may not be the best thing that you want. It may not be everything you want, but they do try to find a close fit. Because if not, they don't get paid. I would say that you will find a lot of places in a community-based organization like Starspace that whenever they have a recruiting company that's involved with them, they're not going to go to a recruiting company that's just out for a quick buck and doesn't like the people and is doing a bad job because it looks bad on everyone else involved in it. So the ones that are normally wrapped into the community tend to be good companies and can kind of help judge what you need to look for. So I do like recruiters. I say they fund events like this. This is an old slide. We used to actually be funded solely by GDH and Addison at 2 different points. And now we're here, so We don't have to say nice things. We never really did anyways, to be honest. But it is one of those things that like they're not even paying for this, and I'm still willing to say they're a good company. So that should mean something to someone, maybe just me. So let's start talking about something more useful in the sense of what you can do for training. So who here has a server closet? Anyone have a rack? A half rack? A collection of servers piled up on the floor that you've been meaning to plug in and haven't. That one is probably just me. It's a stack. It's network equipment. It's heavy. I don't have the money for a rack. Those things are expensive. I don't have the money for a bunch of servers. Even old ones can still get pricey. You can get some cheap ones on eBay for a couple $100, and that's a good place to start if you wanted to get into physical infrastructure, because you can pick up like $50 switches, $100 servers, $200 storage arrays that still have drives. I mean, they're not fast enough to do anything besides maybe load up Quake 64 and it might still crash, but it still gives you useful information on how they work, how they connect, and what you can do. That's neither here nor there. That's still money. That's still $300, $400, $500 just to get into it and hope the equipment works well. So yeah, empty pictures, empty pocket picture. I don't have a pocket picture, so if anyone wants to get a picture going like this, I will post it. Any one of you, I don't care who it is. So, like I said, this is an old one. Any laptop can be a server farm. Any. Now, I used to carry around this little 2-core, 4 gigs of RAM Asus netbook and show this off to show a domain controller and 2 SQL servers replicating on a netbook. Because I was like, look, this is neat. But I have a bad habit of reformatting hardware, and that got a little cumbersome after a while. So I don't have the notebook with me, but I did bring this. Hopefully this comes up. This is AWS. Who here has their own AWS account? You do. I made mine yesterday. Last night at 11:35 p.m. just for kind of ground rules on where we are on this. This is a SQL server. It has SQL. I mean, I guess that makes sense. This is a testing ground. This is a SQL Server 2017 box. I don't know what year I was going to say, but we're going to go ahead and do that. So 2017 SQL Server. You can put SSIS on here. You can try to build packages. I have AdventureWorks running, and it's very high security. The password is my user account, and nothing else has been done on the server at all. And there's AdventureWorks. Let's see. We're going to check out the persons table because I have nothing better to do right now. Let's see. Is it right click? I love right click. You can also hit the little button near here that does a simulator right click without actually right clicking. If it makes it feel better, you can like mouse and keyboard. No. So yes, you do right click everything in SQL Server, but it's okay. The GUI works, so I'm happy. This is a fully functioning SQL box with a testing database and structure that you can run queries against, test moving data, test whether or not a CTE is going to work, or if you even know what a CTE is, go grab the syntax for it and try it out. You can get a 1-core, 1 gig of RAM or Azure box for free for a year at no cost. You can leave it online 24 hours a day for a year with 30 gigs of storage. Now, is that what this box is? No, because I get really annoyed at hardware really quick and free is slow. But free is free. This server, which only costs me money when I turn it on, is 6 cents per hour. Unless I'm doing a demo for a day, 24 hours of demo, I'm still not spending $1. It's 6 cents. For 2 or 3 hours of work, it's a quarter. If you're willing to pay just a little bit, you don't have to have it on your own system. You can build it here, turn it off when you don't need it, turn it back on when you do. And when you're completely tired of it and you're really annoyed, like I'm going to be in a couple hours, I'm going to delete it. And it's just going to go away. And I'm going to get charged, I think, like 15 cents because I built the entire thing as a free server and only upped it for the presentation because it was driving me mad. But if your company is an Azure company and you use Azure with your company, or you have Microsoft solutions, like any like software solutions or anything that you're doing with them, There's a number of times they have a free Azure account that is a free server for you to do training and testing to play with Azure because they want to sell it to you that you can use for free. AWS has a free tier right here. So there are things you can build that you don't have to have a server farm. You don't have to have a powerful laptop. You don't have to have a lot. Yes. So if you have an MSDN, you're pretty well guaranteed to have a free account somewhere. Like, I don't know of anyone that actually has like a Visual Studio style MSDN account that doesn't have free hours for Azure. You can. I'm saying like an MSDN account, like an active account. Yeah. You can buy all the software. Yes, you can buy all the software standalone technically. And those are all standalone, and then they don't have that nice. Isn't like MSDN like $4,000 a year or something like that? It's not. So 500 a year. So retail's 1,000 a year. So if you want to go that route, if you have a company, you can talk them into the MSDN license and then just steal the Azure account. I mean, just whatever you need to do. AWS is still free. And so, and Azure can be really cheap. And this is a 2.4 and was 6 cents an hour. And MSDNs, of course, you can buy standalone. And speaking of standalone, that's actually a perfect talking point that we'll get back into. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because I legitimately only built that to show that for that little bit of time. So I'm not quite sure what that means. I know there's a quick button for this, but I don't know. Are we back? We're not. Bear with me, we're having PowerPoint technical difficulties. All right, so AWS and Azure. And if you have MSDN, you can get that for free. There's lots of things you can do. This is just stuff that you can do without putting it on your computer that you use every single day. Because once you mess too many things up and you rebuild the entire thing, you've probably wasted more time than what AWS would have cost you. If you consider what your time valuable in the sense that you log what your hours cost you when you do other projects for training and learning. So you kind of add that up, build it in a different environment, can save you a lot of time, heartache, and you can turn it off. And even better, when you build something really cool and you're like, hey, this is everything we needed. Here's the password. Go check it out. You don't have to hand them your laptop because I don't like people with my laptop. It goes missing. So let's say you want to go the route of just buying the license or trying to do something for free. Commodity hardware. It's a great phrase. It worked for Hadoop. We're going to try it now. You can get old computers for pretty much free. If you work for a company with more than probably 50 employees, they've got a few boxes somewhere that no one's using that doesn't have a hard drive in that you can probably talk them out of carrying to the trash can. You'll take it for them to your car. And you can find computers. I think I had 8 or 9 computers at one point that the company just kept handing to me because I'd keep taking them home. And I eventually learned to say no. But there's a lot you can do with recycled hardware, and most times you can get it for free to extremely cheap. Like I said, there's Cisco equipment. You can buy a Cisco router that's 2 generations old for like $50. So if you want to learn a new piece of hardware, a new piece of tech, you can get it cheap. Just do it like a used car. A couple years old and you're probably fine. So SQL Server. I'm a little biased, so we're going to stay on SQL Server for a second. As a training area, if you want to learn development, you have to have an area to code. If you want to learn to be a DBA, you have to have things to back up and hope it works. You have to have areas to play with. So you can use Express, and it's absolutely free. You can use Express in production for a company, and it's free for 1 core, 1 gig of RAM, up to 10 gig database. There's a little asterisk, it's very restrictive, but it's free. Or you can use MySQL or Postgres. They're also free, and they don't have the same restrictions. I have nothing to add to that. You can also get Enterprise for 180 days as an evaluation. This one's been tricky for me. This still exists, and I don't know why. I don't know why anyone would install a 180-day evaluation license of SQL Server, because on day 180, it turns off. If you accidentally are running production on it because someone else installed it and you didn't realize they didn't put a code in, it turns off while people are trying to use it. Developer Edition, still, by the way, make sure your licenses are up to date. This isn't a way to steal things. Developer Edition used to cost $50. It's been free for the last, I think, since 2014. Like 2016's been free, 2017's free. I installed it from here as a Developer Edition. It has all the enterprise features for free. Is there anything that you've ever tried to do, has there ever been a point that you wanted to test out partitioning, or to see how table compression really worked, or to see what elastic tables really look like? Things that you want to play with, or check out graph databases with 2017. Now, you can put it in here for free, play with any of it, and not have a cost, and just install it on your own laptop. And then it'll break your laptop, then you'll put it back on AWS. I have installed on my laptop, and I've regretted it every single time, but I still do it because I don't know any better. So running on your desktop versus a server, such as I am missing stuff. This is not cool. Do I have a cons? I don't have a cons. I have to fix this. There's a lot of slides. We're actually almost done with the slides, just kind of warning you. So I am missing half of the slide. That was not expected today. We can cover the cons pretty easy because they're pretty easy to come out. So a pro of running this on your desktop, instead of running it on a server, one of your pros, you can still watch your cat videos. See, I'm not taking that from you. I'm trying to make this a better place for all of you. You have full internet access. So every time you set something on fire and you're like, okay, let's go back to Stack Overflow. I'm not quite sure how I did this. And they might go, wow, I've never seen that before either. Let's figure it out. Or they might go, just kill it with fire and bury it and salt the earth. It's never coming back. They will help. It's not always constructive. There's no learning curve. You don't have to figure out server. You don't have to figure out how to install server 2016 core and then wonder where the GUI went and then figure out how to bring that back and then kind of disappoint or destroys the whole purpose of going to the core. Anyways, this happens. Again, more cat videos. Easier access to videos, not the cat ones, like training videos. So you can put things side by side. You can see what they're doing right, figure out what you're doing wrong, and learn. It's a magical thing. Cons. Every time that you do something you're not supposed to and you re-wipe your computer for the third time in that month and you have nothing to do but stare at your computer unhappy for 3 hours, it doesn't help anyone. It doesn't provide the isolating barrier. If you try something new and you just thrash the performance on your computer, you can't do anything else. You've destroyed it. You don't have to worry about forgetting that SQL services have been on for 4 months because you set them to automatic for the one time you installed it, and it's been taking 30% of your processor this entire time. Latency. There's reasons to run it on a server, on a virtual, through VMware. I'll actually get to that. Is that right here? We're gonna go here real quick. We'll come back to squirrels. So virtuals. There's squirrels back there. I strongly advise installing it on VMware or VirtualBox. VMware is not free. It's like $250 or something like that. If you're a student at any school and you have an MSD and Alliance, you can get VMware for free. Continue to use that while you're in school, because if not, it becomes expensive. VirtualBox is free. I believe it's an Oracle product. It is free, 100% free. There's not a cost, there's not a question, there's not a little secret in there. It's free. You can do replication on it, you can build networks, you can get a domain controller, you can build an entire environment, and when you're done with it, you can turn it off. You can get your performance back, and you don't have it sitting there hogging everything. If it goes wrong, you can roll back a snapshot. You can't roll back your computer quite as easy. You can, yeah, testing replication. Demo, sort of. Sort of means there's not a demo today because, again, the netbook is not here. Back to squirrels. I told you there were squirrels. So test databases. We saw AdventureWorks, right? There's also Contoso. Who's familiar with Contoso? Am I destroying that name? Anyways, Contoso. We'll go with that. So it's a BI database, right? It has a couple pretty large tables in there. Pretty large is relative. They're not really huge, but they're larger than anything in AdventureWorks. It gives you something to work with more numbers. It gives you facts. It gives you dimensions. It gives you something to test out what you might consider out of like a BI style environment. It gives you a structure to look at and go, this works technically. Now we can see if I can make it work here. There's also Northwind. I haven't seen a lot of new development out of them, but they're also another good database. And just because they're old data doesn't mean they're not still good data. You can take these structures, strip them out, and put something else in its place. You can take this idea and try to take, you can take data from, you can't go to data.gov anymore. I think that's gone now. There's other backups, like the archive, I think, has data.gov before they pulled it down, that has like 100 million record data sources. There's like FAA data out there, so you can track every plane that's taken off like up to 10 years ago or something. So you can see how that data moves, what airline you don't want to go to because of how much later they are than everyone, what airline suddenly started doing better, but then you realize they were acquired by someone and they were told to be better. But like that's actually useful information. You get to play with those data sources, and you can use a structure like this to kind of see how you can fit things in. How do you pull the people out of Contoso? How do you pull the people out of AdventureWorks and put them in the person's database in AdventureWorks? There's lots of stuff you can play with. Back to virtuals. So I know I talk too fast. That's why I'm glad we have a recording that you can slow down. I do have some questions, though, and I'm probably just going to read the slides. So let's just do that. How much is your data worth? It's worth your job. That's the easy one. But to your company, what's it worth? You know, I used to work for a company that dealt in healthcare. That one's bad, but people don't get paid if that database goes down too long. Pharmacies don't get their money. People might not get their medicine as quick because they're waiting for things to authorize. That's not technically true. That's more, well, I guess they did do e-prescribe. So yeah, that's kind of true. Your medicine might not be there because the database went down. When I worked for the DoD, they would actually say this database is rated in loss of life per hour. That doesn't make you feel extremely nervous every time you look at it and never want to touch it. It truly does. But what is the cost? And there are real costs. Does anyone care if the staging environment's down? Well, yeah, because Tom's running production through it again. So, you know, it's going to go down and we're going to lose 3 months of salary. Let's not do that. So your training starts to look cheaper. How much can you lose? Can you lose a week's worth of data? Can you lose an hour's worth of data? Can you lose minutes worth of data? These are questions. If the database goes down for 30 seconds, does your company lose $1 million? Mine doesn't. So I'm kind of happy about that at the moment, less fear. But it happens. A database goes down for, I'm guessing, some place like Chesapeake or any other big energy company dealing with large amounts of data. If that data is unrecoverable, that could be extremely impacting, even if it's 30 seconds. I don't know. I'm making that one up. We'll see how that actually plays out. Someone will tell me I'm wrong. I'm okay with it. So how good or how much is your data worth? How much can you lose? How good's your resume? So something that's been passed around is you either need to have a good backup solution or a good resume, because you're going to use one of the two someday. And normally they're kind of impacted on each other. How much time today does it take you to put out your fires? Everything that broke over the weekend, how much time did that take on Monday? Does anyone have a number? Like, did you lose your whole Monday to things that people broke over the weekend? So it happens. You lose your entire, you might be like Thursday before you catch up and you can finally read your email and then wonder why it all caught fire. If you get some training, if you can talk your boss into saying, hey, I know this sounds strange, put me on an ocean in the Mediterranean and I'll come back a better person. It's a little hard, but try. I'm asking someone, if it works, I might be looking for employment. No. But there's a lot you can do with that. How much is that training worth? Is that $100 worth of training for that book that you bought that you're not going to read helpful? But is that $200 you spent for that video from a person that you want to listen to, from like Brett Ozar, that was really useful to you? Is that useful? Good. Can someone sit there and watch it with you? Maybe. I don't know the terms of service. You might check it first. But still, are the free videos that are posted out there, or is that 30 minutes worth your time? Did that 30 minutes save you 3 hours somewhere else? And how does that impact all the fires you deal with on a daily basis? How much can trying to talk someone into a little bit of training help you get ahead? And that's pretty much all I have. So, any questions? I'm getting no questions. I'm going to try this again. Anything that's interesting? Anything that you didn't know? I rambled about squirrels and virtuals. There had to be something here. That is true. I will fully admit to at one time actually starting at the first page of I Can Has Cheeseburger and reaching the first page. Those were not proud moments. Does any of this apply to anyone? Is there any information that you were hoping to find that I did not include? Well, I'll go ahead and call it at that. Thank you.